Okay, everybody, welcome to another Ignite Visibility University. Today, I am so excited because we have Yelp with us, specifically Jessica Carlin, Partner Sales Director at Yelp, who is somebody who has come and presented at the Ignite Visibility office before and did a fantastic job. Jessica, I am so happy to have you here. How are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. I'm so happy to be here. And honestly, I feel like this is kind of a big deal because you are always on the very top of my LinkedIn pretty much every time that I log in. So I know you have a lot going on, so I'm honored to be invited.
Oh, thank you. That's nice of you to say. I do spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, too much time on LinkedIn probably, but thank you for noticing.
Yeah.
So, I think, one of the things I noticed about your background, you've been with Yelp for 6 years. You're an executive there, essentially, or a director rather. What's it been like at Yelp? How did you get to where you are? Tell us just a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so my background honestly has nothing to do with Yelp. It's still super random how I even ended up out in Scottsdale. I'm from the Midwest. I've lived in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, just all over. Actually, I went to school at UW-Madison, and Yelp was the only business that I recognized at our career fair. And I applied, went through the process. The job was in Arizona, so ended up moving to Arizona. But yeah, I've been about 6.5 years with Yelp. Pretty much like everyone else that starts at Yelp, I started in the local sales role.
Hmm.
So I was that person that was calling businesses, trying to help them get set up on advertising and so on. And did that for about a year and a half before moving on to our mid-market division. And that's just where I was, still having that business direct relationship and working with larger brands, usually anywhere between 15 and 75 locations. But still selling our same products. And then same thing, did that for a year or so. And now I'm in our partner division, which is definitely my favorite role to date. Now I'm building and maintaining partnerships with marketing agencies to really just equip them with all the tools that they need to leverage Yelp very effectively for their clients, whether it's on a free or paid level. So that's where I am today. It's been a good ride.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate the background and we appreciate the partnership. Ignite Visibility listeners. So we work with Jessica and her team fairly closely, for ad spend and for making Yelp the right part of the marketing mix. And that's one of my first questions for you, Jessica. I'd love for you to kind of demystify what's the right business for Yelp. And not only what's the right business for Yelp, but what's kind of like the right business for Yelp right now? Because I think a lot of people see Yelp, a lot of people like Yelp, and a lot of people are attracted to Yelp, but who should really be going there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think just to take a step back right away. So a common misconception that I hear a lot is people thinking that Yelp is a review site. And then the mentality sometimes can be for business owners, why would I spend on Yelp? Why would I do anything on Yelp? Maybe I don't like Yelp. Maybe I don't like my reviews. But Yelp at its core, we are a business directory. So we are quite literally the modern day Yellow Pages. We are where someone goes first and foremost when they know they need a specific service or a specific product. They need it in their local market. If I told you, John, I just got my HVAC system replaced. So I literally went onto my Yelp app, did a search for HVAC near me, called some people, had an appointment, for the next day. So we are a business directory. So in terms of which businesses do the best on Yelp, as a business directory, honestly, all categories, all types of businesses do really well on our site if they have that local presence. I personally think that what's more important to look at is your market. So obviously places like California, that's going to be a very, very Yelp market, whereas, maybe in rural Minnesota where I'm from, maybe not as much. But that's why one of the key value points being a Yelp advertising partner and, John, working closely with your team, you guys are able to request things from us like inventory reports and market data. So before you even take Yelp to a client, you can say, hey, there was, 55,000 searches for plumbing right in your service area in the last 30 days on Yelp. This is probably something we should have a conversation about. So I think more so than what verticals make sense, it's really all of them. I would say just take a look at your market, make sure that Yelp has enough search volume for what you're doing to justify, going out of your way to gain more exposure there. But if I had to pick a top vertical, I would have to say home services. Actually, searches for anything under the home service umbrella have been up. Surprisingly this year since COVID hit. I think just because a lot of people are at home and actually have time, now to get stuff done around the house like I did and so on. So home services are by far my favorite vertical to work with for that reason right now.
Excellent. Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm seeing so much customer interest around Yelp. We have quite a few clients on it, and I'm so excited to work with you as we move into 2021 to start incorporating more Yelp ad spend and more Yelp strategy into our QBRs. One of the things I've loved doing is just gathering industry data from amazing online services such as yourself and working that into our quarterly business plan. So I can't wait for that. And, so that would be one question I have for you. With Yelp, where do you generally see it fitting in the marketing mix? Any kind of thoughts on that? Is it what part of the budget? How are people attributing it? Like, just talk to me about that just a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it really fits in with just a business's omni-channel strategy in general. So even, take Yelp.com off the table. Let's say you're a consumer and you've never even heard of Yelp. Let's say you go to Google and you do a search for a plumber in San Diego. Let's say that's where you are. So typically you're going to see Yelp index very highly in Google, which, as you know, is indicative of the fact that sometimes when people start that search on Google, they can end up on a platform like Yelp because it's indexing so highly and it's really relevant to what they want to see when they're doing that local business query. So just, think of all the places that Yelp is integrated as well. So I know, John, you and your team know this, but Yelp is partnered with Apple. So as of today, we are their default directory. So if you're using Siri or Apple Maps, that's all powered by Yelp. Same thing with Yahoo. If you do a search, they don't have their own local business content. You'll see that's powered by Yelp. Amazon, one of our most recent partnerships. So we power local search for Alexa. Just, think very broad spectrum, all the places that Yelp is powering local search. But again, just on our platform specifically, Yelp is the #1 business directory. It's the #1 place that consumers are going nowadays when they're looking for a local business. So I would say if a local presence is important to you, if you're a single location or multi-location store, you need to have that presence on Yelp because that's where predominantly people are going when they're looking for that local service. So I think just to synthesize, obviously, we have a lot of unique searches happening on Yelp every single day for all types of services, but Yelp is also, having that just populating in search results in Google and other places as well. So it makes sense to pay attention to.
Marketers out there listening to the podcast, Yelp is something we cannot ignore. I remember when you came and presented, I can't remember the exact stat, but it was a very, very large percent of people who checked Yelp before signing up for a business. And now with the new advertising abilities that you have, and for us, everybody, it's all a matter of making sure you're everywhere that your customers are looking for you, especially if you're a multi-location business. And I love those integrations. I feel like a lot of people probably didn't know about Amazon and about Apple. So thank you for bringing that up. Now, so if I want to run ads on Yelp, talk to me just like a little bit about the platform and talk to me just a little bit about, I guess what I want to know most about is the targeting abilities. Like if I wanted to target whatever, what can I target? Let's open up that for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. So Yelp's a little unique in that we are a category-based ad platform. We are not a keyword-based ad platform. So as an example, what that means is if you're an Italian restaurant, you're probably going to be under the Italian category on Yelp. So essentially, you are targeting anything that would fall under that parent category of Italian food. So you'd be targeting breadsticks and pizza and pasta and all that good stuff just by default of being under that Italian category. So that's always worked great for us just by the nature of our platform and how consumers search. But one of the things that we were able to implement recently, I believe actually this year, is negative keyword targeting, which historically we never had. And that's been really exciting for us because let's say you are a plumber and you pretty much, handle all the services under that plumbing category, but there are some jobs you don't do, or maybe some jobs that you get a lower return on that you just don't want to allocate ad spend, to those queries. We're able to block those now in the business owner's account, and on our end, we're able to negative keyword target any services or any products that just aren't relevant to that client. Even again, if their parent category is all encompassing. So that's been great. Another thing that's pretty exciting that, again, brand new, I think the last 6 months, is called custom location targeting. So on Yelp, historically, your ad would either target searches, within a certain radius around your business.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're a home service business, you could set up to 6 zip codes or cities or neighborhoods to target and hone in on, which is kind of limiting. So businesses in the past, if they wanted to expand their service area, they'd maybe have to create more Yelp pages and kind of jump through a bunch of hoops to accomplish that. But now with custom location targeting, a listing is able to target really as many custom locations as they want. So if you're a ski resort in Tahoe, for example, but you get a lot of visitors from the Bay Area, you can actually target your ads to the Bay Area or to surrounding areas, not just in Tahoe, to really expand your reach and get in front of your potential audience wherever in the US they are. So those are just a couple examples of some of the features that I've been really excited about. But yeah, obviously being here 6.5 years, we've seen things evolve, every couple months and so on and so forth. So I would say if you haven't looked into Yelp in the past 6 months, there's probably some new stuff, and it's probably worth logging into your business owner's account or hitting up John and his team and checking it out. A lot of good stuff.
I love that. Thank you. Yeah. And so I find that, for our clients that we have this set up for, we can target by category, we can target by, location, and we also have good tracking. And I think that that's one of the cool things that I feel like Yelp had good tracking before a lot of the other sites, and they still do. Talk to us just a little bit about like attribution. Like, if somebody does a search for a category and comes into a pizza place or a body shop or something like that, how do I know?
Sure. And that's actually, I would say, a big value statement of people to work with an agency, because frankly, a lot of businesses, I guess to take a step back, John, because you asked earlier, how can a business sign up with Yelp or get started with Yelp? So a single location business, actually, they can sign up, for their own products and advertising services, just in a self-serve platform on the back end. So they can actually do it themselves and they don't need any rep involvement. But when you get into more multi-location brands, that's where you usually need a rep to assist you. And one of the things that we're able to do now, as mentioned, is tracking. But a lot of local businesses don't set up the tracking, when they start ads up, and then that just pains my soul, because I'm like, how do you know what you're getting? How are you going to be happy with this? So we definitely implement call tracking. So we get an organic line in there, we get a paid ad line in there. Typically, people are working with CallRail or some sort of third-party call tracking service where we can listen to those calls and then, track return on ad spend from there. We're also diligent in placing UTM codes on the listing, so we can track, form fill outs on the website that happen to Yelp and attribute that back to Yelp. Any business that advertises with us, we give them the full scope in terms of what leads they're generating from their ad campaign. So that just really means any secondary action someone can take on a Yelp page. So we're looking for phone calls. If it's a restaurant, let's say, we can see how many people map directions to the restaurant. We can see how many people clicked over to the website, maybe filled out, a form, a consultation form from there. So those are all the things that we're tracking on our end, and then teaming up with marketing agencies, that helps us kind of piece the whole puzzle together with, the call tracking and all of that. So those are the key things that we're looking for engaging the success of a campaign.
Really powerful stuff. And the thing that I like about Yelp, I feel like it's one of the last places a lot of people go after their research in many cases. It's kind of low funnel, it's that final thing that they take a look at. And then, you've got that good tracking. And if you're set up right, you're going to have a ton of success there. So, one other thing that I think, so we've got the ad side, and the ad side, there's a ton of value. Multi-location businesses, I'm seeing it, really a part of all those marketing mixes. Now, talk to me a little bit about this other thing you have, which is the profile enhancement. So should everybody do that? And like, what's the benefit of that part again?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I want to backtrack for a second just on something you said, because I think that really hits home with, people on Yelp when they're searching. They're at the bottom of the purchasing funnel. They're like, I know what I need. I know where I need it. Now I'm trying to spend money. Who's it going to be? And actually, the stat that we have around that is that 93% of people that start a search on Yelp end up making a transaction with a business after doing that search, which is crazy when you think about that. And that's really the core value statement of our platform. You know, we don't have more unique users than Google. We don't have more unique users than Facebook. But what we do have is that strong, strong purchase intent, you know, because when I'm on a business directory, my wallet's on the table, hypothetically speaking. It's just a matter of who I can find. And now when we're talking about profile enhancements, it's who looks good, you know, who's worthy of getting my business at this point. So we have quite a few new profile enhancements, and they're all there with the sole intent to increase that business's conversion rate to the best of our ability. Because whether one of these leads finds, you know, the client through organic, you know, or through their ad, now they're on the listing. Now they're deciding right now, you know, do I want to spend money with business or don't I? So of course, you know, the things that are important is making sure you're responding to your reviews and making sure your photos look good and are up to date and all of that. But we have 3 newer profile products. One is called Verified License. One is called Business Highlights, and one is called Portfolio. And those are cool things that you can go check out in your own business owner's account. But what's neat about them is not only do they appear on the client's Yelp profile, they actually appear in the ad copy and in the client's organic listing as well, in organic search results before I even click on the page. So they're really neat features to help the client stand out, again, in their ad and in organic search results, so that, you know, that consumer is more likely to choose them and click over to their listing. The business highlights, you know, that's just showing little things that the business wants to showcase. So especially with COVID right now, businesses are highlighting, you know, things about their the hygiene that their staff is taking, you know, measures around, you know, safety in their establishment, or if they're coming into your home. They can highlight if they're family owned and operated, if they are, you know, operating 24/7. So things like that.
I love that. Yeah, that's nice that you're taking the time to implement the features that are really important for high conversion rates for the ad spend. And so everybody take advantage of that stuff, especially, you know, in these times that we're in. And I had a question for you. If we get a negative review on Yelp, you'll just take that down for us too, right? Isn't that
actually, yeah, just email John at night, and he, you know, he can do all that. He's well equipped. No, I'm just kidding. Please don't fire me. Please don't fire me. No, so that is the one thing that I'm completely useless with. I hope everyone knows this by now, but no one at Yelp can manipulate reviews and all that. But what I do think is sad is that a lot of businesses, again, don't even reply to reviews, or they don't message that user privately, or they don't know that they can flag negative reviews when they come in. So you do have the chance to dispute them. They do get sent to a human team that will evaluate and see if it, you know, is in violation of our content guidelines. But I always say, you know, if heaven forbid you get a negative review, literally just Google Yelp's content guidelines. There's like 6 or 7 of them. They're super easy to understand, very black and white. And then, you know, okay, does this review violate any of these terms? And if it does, flag it and articulate that. But a lot of businesses don't even go through that process. And so, you know, and I'm like, why would you not do everything in your power to see what you can do here?
Yeah.
Log into your business owner's account and look at the options that you have.
100%. And you know, obviously I was just joking a little bit because that's a pain point for some people, but it's totally okay. You know, one question I would have is, you know, and as we're kind of wrapping up here, I just think a lot of people want to know if they are playing by the rules, like what's okay for us to do with Yelp. Like our listeners would love to hear that. Like, could I say, hey, client, you know, you just said some great stuff about our company. I'm flattered. Would you mind to leave us a review on Yelp? That's probably, like, you know, talk to us about like what they could do if they wanted to get more positive reviews.
Yeah, so Yelp, and I know you know this, John, but we take a pretty strict stance in the marketplace, a very anti-review solicitation stance. And the reason why that is because Yelp wants to preserve the integrity of the site. Because we know, you know, not to name names, but we know there's some sites out there where it's really easy to manipulate reviews, and every business has 4 or 5 stars, and like, is every single business really 4 or 5 stars, you know, or vice versa. And so what Yelp is trying to do is promote the reviews that are of the highest quality and are the most reliable. So if a review gets stuck in the algorithm and it's not surfacing, you know, it's not Yelp saying this wasn't a client, you know, don't take this review seriously. It's just like, hey, we don't know enough about this user that left this review, or maybe this review just isn't as high of quality as the review next to it. Maybe it's not as informative. So that's really what the system's looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of asking for feedback, again, we're anti-review solicitation. But I think just generally speaking, you know, I see a lot of email follow-ups from like my doctor, my dentist after I have an appointment, and they're like, you know, hey, you can leave us feedback. And then they have the Facebook icon, you know, Google and Yelp, for example.
Yep.
So I think, and even in storefronts, you know, you see the Yelp stickers, or on moving vehicles, you know, the little Yelp stickers, or find us on Yelp, whatever. So I think it's all about kind of that subliminal messaging, or keeping it more broad and generally speaking, like, hey, you know, leave your experience or leave feedback, and then, you know, kind of giving a couple options versus explicitly saying, hey, you had a great experience. Can you leave us a review on Yelp? You know?
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. I, you know, think that, you know, so you heard it from everybody, and heard it from, you know, from Jessica, as far as, you know, let people know that that's a site, that's a presence that you have. You can go there and you can leave something, but you can't really force somebody through like an automation software to go and do that. That's kind of a no-no. And I just do good work, and hopefully it happens organically, and it can build a great marketplace. I would say, you know, another thing, you know, in general, I just feel like a lot of times people try to do so much organically, and they don't take advantage of the advertising side. And that's kind of what I wanted everybody to understand today, is that, you know, Yelp does have some really great abilities. It's an important part of the marketing mix. I want to see it in, you know, the marketing portfolio for multi-location businesses, and make sure that they understand some of these features. And so, you know, Jessica, the last thing maybe I'd ask you today is, anything else you want people to know about Yelp, like exciting going into the end of this year, holiday season, going into next year? Anything else that's top of mind for marketers?
Yeah, so I would just say, because something I hear a lot, not as much anymore working with agencies and not client direct now, but a lot of times in talking to businesses, you know, they're like, hey, I'm not interested in Yelp, tried it 5 years ago, you know, and maybe on other platforms that flies, but Yelp is constantly changing, constantly evolving. Like literally, our targeting capabilities for ads today is not the same as it was 6 months ago. It's not, you know, there's more new things, there's more features. So I would have, if I talked to someone 6 months ago, I'd have a fresh conversation with them today. So I would say for any local businesses out there, any marketing agencies, the Yelp of the past is probably not the Yelp of the present. And so I always think it's wise, at the very least, to have a conversation with your Yelp rep, have a conversation with a marketing agency that's working with Yelp, like John's team, or just very simply log into your business owner's account and take 20 minutes and play around with the different tabs and see what's in there, and, you know, fill out everything for free, everything organically that you can, and explore the new ad options and the new targeting capabilities, and just make sure that you're always aware, you know, of what's going on in the platform, because, you know, not only is Yelp the #1 business directory, but it's populating in all those other platforms as well that are out there. So at the very least, makes sense to just pay some attention and be up to speed with everything going on.
100%. Yeah. Pay some attention. Make sure you're logging in. There's really good analytics there. You probably don't even realize. So Jessica, thank you so much for taking the time today and educating us on one of the more important platforms out there for marketing. We really appreciate it. And if somebody wants to find out more about you online, or find out more about any Yelp promos or anything, where should they go?
So I am on LinkedIn. I am not nearly as popular as John Lincoln, but I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me, Jessica Carlin at Yelp, and yeah, happy to answer any questions, and if need be, get you in the best hands possible over here. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Thank you very much. Well, this video will be going out on LinkedIn, so we'll give you a tag. And anybody, if you have any questions about Yelp, when this goes out, you know, feel free to leave them below, and we'll be happy to respond. And give it a like for Jessica taking the time to do all this. And thanks again for stopping by. We'll see you soon.
Thank you so much.
Bye.